Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe here with me, my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
This video is all about Conan the Liberator, a book I went in kind of with semi-high expectations because World of Conan had said that this was a very mediocre book. And he was being very, very generous when he said that. Now, I went in because a few people in the comment section had positive feelings towards Dakar, and I thought, well, we have World of Conan who's negative towards him, and we have got some of the viewers who are positive. Let's sit in the middle. Who knows? Who might be right? Oh, yeah. Howard was way more talented than Dakar. I'm just going to say that coming out of the gate. This is such anyways. We're going to first get through the general stuff of the first 100 pages of the edition of the book that we have, because I basically shared my copy with you, and Dan's shaking his head, just in disgust and horror at what we've just read. Now, Numidides is the nephew and successor of Valerius III, and is one of the last real scions of the old royal family. There's only maybe Valerius who, towards the end of the events of this novel, flee to Numidia. That said, Numidides has reigned for 6 years, originally isolated himself entirely in his harem, which that's still an interesting bit of lore, giving over all authority and administrative duties to his ministers. All this changed with the arrival of Thulandra Thu, whom is a mysterious figure, suspected of coming from either Hyperborea or Ventia, or even Shem or Stygia. It's not entirely clear from what little we've read. We'll have to do a lot more studying to figure that one out. And the Aquilonian throne is called the Ruby Throne, which I'm not entirely sure I like that for the name of the throne Conan is to sit upon, because we have the Topaz throne, which truly sounds a little more majestic. The Ruby Throne sounds, at least to me, it feels kind of mundane for Conan, when Conan should have a pretty majestic sounding throne. Now, I know someone might disagree and say a Ruby Throne would still be a pretty impressive thing. Yeah, that's true. Something like the Solar Throne for Japan, or the Lily Throne for France, or the Thistle Throne of Scotland, I think it is, or the Lion Throne, I've also heard it called, of Scotland. You know, these are impressive sounding thrones. Ruby Throne doesn't have the same...
It doesn't roll off the tongue very easily, because you'd expect a long name to...
Or if not long, then...
You'd expect a long name to be more of a mouthful.
What I mean is, it's not long, but it doesn't need to be long. It's just that it should almost be purple. You know what I mean? It should sound regal and royal. And I don't think you need a long thronal name. Like Lily Throne is pretty short, but
you'd expect
Le Trône de Lis a lot more impressive than it does in English. And the thing is, the French term for lily is a very important word because of the Capetien.
The name Ruby Throne, I don't like it.
You don't like it either, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't
feel right. Your average king might have a ruby throne or a cerulean throne or an emerald throne, but Conan should have something a little more unique. That said, when we're first introduced to Numidides, he's just had a girl of 12 tortured and slain, and he's bathed in her blood. So, yeah, not exactly an okay guy. A pretty striking villain. I actually really do like Numidides in this book as a villain. And we have Thulandra Thu, who is seated upon his throne and has serpentine eyes, hinting at the fact that he might actually be a snake man. So we can see a bit, maybe a possible inspiration for the Tuzun Thun from the movie from 82. The book in his lap is python bound, it is said, and he ends up chucking the book like a child. This awakens Numidides, who had fallen asleep in his disgusting bath. Now, apparently the book is revealed to be focused on the subject of immortality. The two walk away, Numidides offering to sacrifice another couple of girls for his bath, and it's also Thulandra who insists on cleaning him. Yeah, this entire scene is grotesque and wicked, full of evil, with the scroll of Amendarath mentioned. Of course, Numidides drinks purple poppy wine, which the drinking of poppies sounds like he's drinking the blood of valorous, innocent men, because bear in mind, in Flanders fields and whatnot, poppies, I just think of that. And so the symbolism here, I don't think should be lost on any of us.
And it doesn't help that poppies are a source of horrible drugs, like opium.
Yeah, there's also that. Numidides apparently desires immortality and godhood and believes that Delandra is the one who can give it to him. Of course, Delandra really wants to experiment on the king and wants to hog the real divinity for himself. It's also mentioned that there's a first minister called Vibius Latro, and that there's a general by the name of Amulius Procus in the south whom Numidides favors and Delandra doesn't like. Numidides derives pleasure from inflicting pain on others. That's pretty horrible. In chapter 2, we're introduced to a couple of characters. Prospero, Publius are introduced, and Trocero, the count who's one of Conan's greatest allies. Publius is introduced as being balding, and that they're traveling with a great deal of treasure. It's mentioned that Publius used to serve the king, but grew dissatisfied with the sort of men he was serving, which, okay. Then we get introduced to Conan, and the text just says, oh, this is Conan. No. You cannot introduce Conan in this way. It must always be, he is Conan, a Cimmerian. Only rarely can you forego that intro. I think Howard did it once or twice, but Howard can get away with it. No one else should. Decan's not a particularly talented man, so we have to go with what we're given, and I actually despise that. And he's introduced by narration. Already he's undermining the value of Conan. You can introduce by narration Prospero, Publius, and Trocero, and Numidides, and Delandra, but you must not introduce Conan in this way. Also, how is it that Conan came by this treasure? How is it that they ended up all going on this excursion together? How did he come to meet Trocero, Prospero, and Publius? Not explained. And this enrages me because we deserve better. I had hoped going into this novel we'd get to see how he became friends with these people, but we don't see that. We don't see anything. And the dialogue is nothing like Howard's. I'm going to be honest, I half expect Conan to say, bruh, dude, that babe there. Expect him to be a surfer, bro. The dialogue is horrendous. Some characters speak in an older form, sure, but Conan generally speaks like a modern American, trying to be cool and hip like the youngsters. This is jarring, and I absolutely despise it, and the way Conan is presented so far in this book is horrendous. That said, he has a seemingly heartfelt parting with Belisa. Not that anyone cares. She's a noble woman who lost her heart to him. He basically tells her, screw off, I don't really need you. She screws off, along with her servant girl. Conan was previously sworn to Numidides and was in his service during the Battle of Velitrium and served with several legions, in particular the Lions Regiment, who battled for Conan at the Massacre Meadows against the Picts. I've got two complaints. One, how did Conan enter Numidides' service? Not explained. I don't want this stuff explained, though. I don't want to have this all mentioned in narration. No. Show it to me. There is a novel here. Show me the novel where Conan coming to serve Numidides and entering his service and proceeding to become the top officer.
It's like we're missing an entire novel already.
What's more, though, for Conan is that also in for one thing. In Hour of the Dragon, Conan's personal battle standard is a lion because he has a personal relationship with lions, akin to Kull's with tigers. It was implied, at least, that Conan had a special bond of some sort with the animals. It's his spirit animal. He had imparted to Aquilonia the symbol of the lion as a regal animal. Not in this story. In this story, the Lions Regiment pretty much told Conan, this is your emblem now. You have Conan who meekly wanted to conform to what the Legion wanted of him, and he said, okay, I'll take your symbol. No, Conan does not conform. Conan defies. What should have been mentioned was that they never wanted the lion as an emblem. Maybe they wanted an eagle, or maybe they wanted a dragon. But he gave unto them the emblem of the lion. He invented the lion banner, and it was maybe, I don't know, the Countess Albiona who first stitched it together, just to tie it in with Hour of the Dragon. And Conan charged in and won a great victory or two for Aquilonia, and this inspired the regiment to rename itself into the Lions Regiment. How's that? But no, we can't have respectful writing towards Conan. You can probably tell by this time how I feel currently about this at this point after 100 pages of this torture. That said, Conan is also blind to suck-ups. Now, Quesado is a spy, infiltrated his army, and proceeds to just continuously flatter Conan, who just decides, yeah, I trust this guy, I like this guy, he's flattering me, I want everyone to... No, Conan would never fall for such flattery. Maybe from a lady, to an extent, early on, like what's shown in the Dark Horse comics. But for another man to start flattering him, even to an extent, in Tower of the Elephant, he was a little wary of that. At least towards the one thief, he was willing to apprentice himself out a little, but not quite. quite accept any form of flattery. He's not someone who accepts it. He doesn't like flattery. He's fairly suspicious. That said, he also apparently ended up becoming fairly abusive towards some of his men and acting like a jerk because he's really wanting a woman. He just wants any woman right now. And for that, he will misbehave himself towards his army. This is just utterly insulting towards Howard. They cross the river Astar into Hypsonia. Where that is, I don't know. I'll probably end up figuring out the map for this video. But anyways, they arrive on the plains Palos, north of the mountains called Rabirian, which sounds like rabbit. Thulandra ends up warning Numidides, and Procus is given the job of dealing with Conan. Conan decides to try to put together a ambush for Procus. Also, he mistakes thither for hither when speaking, saying, "We'll draw the enemy thither." No, that would mean draw them away from yourself. You have to bear in mind, thither is there. Hither is here. So, therefore, what he's trying to do is draw them hither. Decant does not know how to use hither, thither, and whither. It took me a bit of time to figure that out, but on the other hand, I'm not a man of the times. How is it that Decant, who comes from that generation that used hither, thither, and whither, can't figure it out? I know I sound really hard on him because I honestly think he's a talentless hack at this point and that he's embarrassing himself. And yes, I'm very enraged. I never thought Conan would ever have such bad writing, even though on an intellectual level, I knew there were very badly written novels. I assumed Decant was not one of those bad authors, despite World of Conan warning me he wasn't very good. I assumed because I figured, well, there are defenders of Decant, so obviously there has to be something at some point that he did well. Apparently not. Maybe he was a better editor than writer. I don't know. But anyways, the ambush backfires. Conan completely falls for it. And of course, like a dunce, his mistress, whom he had taken on, turns out to be a spy and tries to poison Conan, which she actually does poison him. But because they used a term, I think like bulky, you're than most men, which implies almost plumpness, it doesn't fully work on him. He's just ill. Thulandra comes to believe he's succeeded. Just no, Conan would not fall for poison. It's not something I can see him downing like that when his mistress is obviously being so wicked and cruel as to look evil. Oh yeah, she's evil. You know what I mean? Like, how did this even get published? How did this get published so far? We're just 100 pages in, and I'm just wanting to just...
Can I go read Harry Potter?
I know, right? I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I often end up getting too harsh with Harry Potter. But I gotta rethink some things because at least Rowling has a good counterpoint. She does have a pretty good sense of prose. This is just... Decant became wealthy beyond all imagining. This is just shockingly bad. There are bits of lore I like, but on the other hand, for Conan to be a really dumb jock, no. Conan is supposed to be he has a higher than average IQ. He is really, really smart. If you want to look at history, you have Agrippa, Trajanus, and even Hadrianus. All three men were very strong, and all three men were very smart. If you want examples of smart and strong guys, Harold II was able to pull two guys in full armor out of quicksand by himself. But he was also a very smart guy. He knew all about animal husbandry. He knew a lot about how to rear dogs. He was a brilliant military strategist, a brilliant diplomat, a polyglot. You look at Conan, he's supposed to be like that. But this book doesn't demonstrate him with any talent. He played such an obvious ambush that the enemy easily just curb stomped him so far. And yeah, he's saying, well, I'm going to go attack his men individually and take them out block by block because they've dispersed to try to hunt down the survivors, which fair enough, but the fact that he's more lucky than anything, both in battle and with the poison thing, does not show him as a great hero or a great warrior. Rather, it shows him as a clumsy moron. Honestly, in this book so far, Conan is so unlikable. I can't understand. You can tell Decant's not enjoying it. He's not enjoying writing Conan. If you don't want to be writing him, why are you writing him?
This book should be burned.
This book is just a disaster. So far.
It's a misconception that Conan is a brute just because they call him Conan the Barbarian.
And maybe it comes from this book and Decant's other books.
Maybe.
That Conan is a brute without a brain.
Even the cartoon treated Conan far more
respectfully than this. Yeah, this book is just... Let's hope the next 100 pages are... Well, let's hope the rest of the book is far more respectful. Let's pray it is.
I'm not holding my breath.
Neither am I. Sorry if we sound like haters, but so far Conan the Liberator has not been a pleasant experience. It's almost been physically painful. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Conan taking down his enemies. And if you didn't, well, smash that like and subscribe button anyways.